Here is our lesson for today, and I'm taking object prototypes in JavaScript, and this is by Ify Code. You can check out our YouTube channel, Ify Code, to get further videos related to programming. All right, without further ado, let's dive into what we have for today. So we're looking at object prototypes in JavaScript, and I have some few objectives to cover at the end of this lesson. At the end, you should be able to use objects and its prototype in your projects. You should be able also to understand how prototype chain works and how to set prototype of an object. Prototype is such an important aspect in JavaScript, bringing a robust nature to object creation and manipulation of objects. We have our content here. Number one, object literal. Number two, prototype. Number three, prototype chain. And finally, setting prototype. Just to keep you informed that we will have this lesson in two parts. The first part will be focused on object literal because the length of the content, we don't want it to be too long. So we're breaking it up into first part, object literal. You should also check out for the second part, for the prototype and prototype chains and everything that relates to prototype. All right, introduction. When we look at object prototypes in JavaScript, it's really a global object with a special object property called prototype. And in my own terms or consideration, or to put it where you can get it, it's like a gene in a cell. A gene in a cell has the ability of having the properties and everything that is made up in a cell. It carries the blueprint and everything about the seed of a cell. So in such a way, objects are the same thing in JavaScript. Objects are like the cell and prototypes are like the gene. And in every object, there's a prototype in that object. So in every cell, there's a gene in every cell. All right, so look at object literal. Object literal can be said to be just like a data structure. When I say data structure, I mean a structure for storage of data. Of course, in JavaScript, we have various types of data structure. The arrays are there, the linked lists are there, and objects are still there, and the hash tables are there, and the binary trees and binary search trees are also there. So it's like a data structure. What are its properties or nature or characteristics? It's simply a property, a property, it has a property and it has values separated with a colon and enclosed in the curly braces. Now you can see it here, and this is an object that has been declared. If I go on with my pointer, let me go on with a red pointer here. All right, I need a bit bigger, okay. If I go with this, so I have you can see here the curly braces pointing to this, and you can also see our colon is separated by a colon. Then you can also see our properties here, then the values, the values for this is actually 5 meter, 10 and slim. Then we're seeing our assignment operator here, and also see the comma that is separated each property name here. All right, if we look at some of the examples of an object is really what it is in the real world, and we're trying to model it in the computer world as well. And what are the characteristics of a box? A box is an object. A person is also an object that has properties like height, age, and stature. All right, and uh, a box can have a height, color, and size as well. And I've given you the description of object literal earlier and explained this part. So, how do we create an object then in JavaScript? Now, we have three methods for doing this: using an initializer, an object.create method, and a constructor. And here is an initializer. Here we're creating using a let statement keyword to declare a variable called person and assign it to the object literal. And here is it on the right hand side, and assigning to this person, storing it inside this variable. And that's a simple way and a quick way to create objects in JavaScript. And you can find this most common and most convenient as well. Other methods are also good. They have their peculiar use cases. All right. So the next, we're looking at object create method, object.create. And this gives us an opportunity to assign a prototype. That's the peculiar characteristics that it has that makes it special. Also to declare and choose a prototype object for our object that we want to create. And here is some of the object creation with object.create method. And here is the syntax. We use object.create. They'll pass some things, some object inside this bracket where my cursor is. And once we do this, if we console log this new box, we'll definitely find an empty object here. And we can also create it with this syntax as well. Object.create, passing object.prototype to it. And then the properties of the object. We'll see this in a demo shortly. All right. So the next is using a constructor. And if you want to use a constructor to create an object, two things are involved. This one is writing a constructor function, and the second one is using a new keyword to create an instance of the object. And here is it using a constructor function. And a constructor function is just the same thing as a function. The different thing is that it has the function name is no longer a camel case, or instead it's a Pascal case. You can see the B here with a capital letter. All right, now you can see the new keyword that we used to initialize it. Here we created an object with we created a constructor function and used this keyword to assign a size of 10 to the object, and this dot color to describe the properties. Here we're using an assignment operator and not just a comma, because this has to do with a function. Then once we have created this constructor function, then you can use the new keyword to instantiate it. As you can say, create an instance of it. Now store it in a variable, and that is how this is done. The code below is still similar to this. The only thing is that this is more this is better compared to this, in the sense that, for example, we're creating a bottle here in the first function up here, and for eventually you find yourself in a Coca-Cola company, design an application for them, and you know that in the Coca-Cola industry there are a lot of bottles. The only implication that you have to start creating this function that describes bottles in the organization a number repeatedly as much as the number of bottles, containers they use in that company. So if they use 100 containers, you end up creating 100 containers, 100 functions like this, construct function for all the products that are in bottles. So as a programmer, that would be quite stressful. You don't have to do that. In other words, however, what to do is creating a blueprint, a constructor function that does one thing, taking all the properties of the bottles, and it's just only one of these functions you create. And for the 100 bottles, you don't have to create 100 function with this method, because when you are instantiating it in this place, you can pass all the properties here. So rather than creating 100 of these and calling this, you can create just a single function and pass the properties when you are instantiating it, and it will create the 100 of bottles automatically. You can see the robust and powerful nature of this kind of programming here. All right. Wow, it's demo time. We're heading back to our VS Code to bring all these things, flesh it out there. All right, here comes my browser, and here comes our VS Code. I'll walk you through here. Go to the top. I just created this function in this place. Uh, this is an HTML file, CSS, SAS file, and a JavaScript file. And I created an HTML here. This JavaScript prototype, you can find it here. And these are the elements that I need. Then I use the JavaScript to pick the element, especially for this particular container, for this particular box, so that whenever I make changes here, then I can it can automatically print out here on the page. So if I remove this now, you'll see the default. Yes, this is the default message that you'll find if you check my index.html. And oh, sorry, if you check my index.html, if I should get rid of this, you will discover that what I have there is different. All right, so here is it. If I comment out this, save. All right, good. Though I have some these things on my console, but let's ignore that. I want to show you something here. And this is my I am block element 2. You can find it here. So I use the JavaScript to pick this div in order to change this text so that I can dynamically change it on the JavaScript. So this is ID div block, and I came over to this place, then grab it with a document of get element by ag, get element by ID, passing the name of the ID, which you can find at div block, which you can find here on line 27. And I head back to my save it in a variable on line 1, declare a variable here. Afterwards, I create a function that I can execute whenever I make changes, and here is the function. Let me comment out all this so that it will be a bit clear and you will not be confused. All right, this is the last part of it. Good. Yes, here we are. I fixed all this code here so that I don't spend much time typing. All right, so here is it. When I got the div, save this an variable, which is div element. Then I created a function here by purpose of creating this function, I want whatever I do here, whatever code I run on this VS Code, it should display here on the browser. So, and also I have a console here. All right. So that is the work of this function, and that's why you're seeing the name show message. It's going to show me the message on this browser. All right. So here I took the element div element dot inner text, then assign a value to it. But if this value is not passed to it, if this value is undefined, it should just print out loading new value. So if there's no value here, it should just print out loading new value. So that was this OR operator in JavaScript. That if this is not available, show this or this. So if this one is not available, this one will be shown. If this is available, this one will not be shown. All right. So as we proceed with I come over to line. This thing, line 62. I come over to line 62 and execute function. When I executed the function, it loads out this on the browser, loading new value. Why? Because this value is undefined, and since this is not available, this will be shown. So either this or this is shown. All right, if that is clear, I can proceed. So if I have not executed this now and save, you can see what showed up. But when I execute it now, you can see this shows up. All right, pick it up. Let me take it off. All right, I take it off. So you can see it here, loading new value. Is displaying what is on line 4 here. But when I comment it, save it, it gives me the default value that is in the HTML. All right, so this is how it works. Now we're moving over to our object literal. As I said earlier, that object literal, we can have this. This is object literal person, as we have created in our slide. Declare the person and pass the object to it.